Like YouTube, let's rewind to about 8 years back and recount an interesting story that nearly gave me a heart attack. My family and I were heading to Florida, Tampa Bay to be exact, to visit my grandparents, but also to spend a day at Universal Orlando. In fact, after a few days at the house, we finally drove to the park ahead. But what I didn't yet realize was that I was in for a dark day instead. We stood at the gate waiting for entry, after which other families got through. They all rushed past in a frenzy. But the big attraction was the Harry Potter's Wizarding World, a recent addition at the time. This one I needed to see, and we needed to hurry while it was still daytime. The first thing we tried was the Hippogriff ride, based after book number 3. We eagerly jumped in our seats as we entered, our faces beaming with glee. Then came the downside, of which I found out the hard way. As it turned out, I didn't like roller coasters, so it ended up ruining my day. While others cheered and yelled happily, I was cursing my dad out, like, "Why'd you bring me here, idiot? Look what you've brought about." Our next stop was the Hogwarts Castle, far off in the distance, but it's not like we couldn't get to it, since the line was causing a lot of resistance. We moved at a snail's pace, which I didn't mind if it was too long. For some reason, I thought this was a fancy tour of the castle. Boy, was I ever wrong. By the time we reached the actual attraction, I thought there was some kind of mistake. Why would a tour strap you in a chair? I mean, come on, this had to be fake. I found out it was a broomstick simulation ride to make you feel like you were in the movie. But all I was thinking to myself was, oh geez, this is gonna be doozy. Our seats flew through the air at quite the high speed. This was making me hysterical. I really didn't want to proceed. Twists and turns galore as we flew through the attraction. Literally everyone else was enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, I was having severe muscle contractions. By the end, my stomach felt like that of a really old drunk, like Kobe had been using it for his big slam dunk! I refused to go on any more rides, which meant my mom had to stay with me, while my dad and sister had the time of their lives. She was just standing around, none too pleased. By the end of it all, we were all worn out, not just from the day, but from my repeated cop-outs. We look back on this trip, though, with fondness, but please be advised, if you're like me and don't want to experience Vietnam, you'll stay away from Universal because it'll leave you Connor, I don't know how to say this word.